everything on the tape. And that's all there is to it. The electronic stick? Okay, well, wait till you get the electronic stick, and then ask your question. And thanks for coming tonight. Everyone have a good time. Ooh, just under the wire. Mm-hmm. All right. Have fun. See you guys later. Just long enough for me to get into the state. Take a day to you this day of your time. How are you all? Once again, we take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for allowing our civilization to communicate with you through this window in this way at this time. Once again, each and every time you allow our civilization to make this link with you, it expands our understanding of all that many more ways that the infinite has of expressing itself within creation, and simultaneously strengthens the co-creation of a third new reality that is different between your reality, our reality, in which one day we may be capable of meeting you more concretely face to face. So we thank you for the opportunity to co-engineer that new dimension of reality with each and every one of you. We would like to begin this transmission this day of your time with a brief idea. And that is, again, connecting to the concept of choices, allowing each and every one of you just another new, as you say, spin on the concept of making choices, to allow yourselves to remember that everything is a choice. There really is no such thing as being between choices. The only thing that exists, in a sense, between choices is a complete state of neutrality, complete state of balance in that sense. But as you make a choice, you are then invoking the idea of a manifestation, of an attraction, of an experience, of a reality. There is really no such thing as waiting to make a choice, for in a sense, even the idea of experiencing neutrality is a choice. But as you make your choices from one to the other, and understand that there's really nothing in between, that you're always in a state of choosing something, you can allow yourself more opportunity to experience, to know, to feel that all choices are equal. No choice, in a sense, has more power than any other choice. And all choices being equal in their capability of manifestation, will thus paradoxically allow the choices you prefer to be capable of being attracted more effortlessly, more easily to manifest along the path of least resistance, because you will not be making the idea of one choice over another as if it is more important. And by allowing all choices to be equal, you allow each choice the same ability to manifest. By assuming that you have to, in a sense, keep other things at bay, keep things away from you, by spending your energy on the idea of focusing on not choosing this or not choosing that, or being afraid of choosing this or being afraid of choosing that, you are creating, by that perspective, by that point of view, more focus, more energy, more solidity to that particular choice than any other choice you say you want. So please remember that the paradox, the power in the paradox in this situation, is that by relaxing your focus on what you don't want, by relaxing your focus on what you might be afraid might happen, and just allowing the idea that if that does happen, it's really no more powerful than anything else. It is just another choice. It is just another experience. By coming into your reality with that attitude, you give yourself far more capability and far more self-empowerment to be able to attract the choice that is representative of your truth, of your natural self, of your preference, so that you don't have to spend energy diffusing the idea of the power you have put in the things you are afraid might happen. And thus allow your reality to simply automatically and effortlessly manifest the things that are simply representative of the vibrational state you happen to be in at any given moment. The idea, again, to please remember, is that as you allow all choices to be equal, as you allow the path of least resistance to manifest itself in your reality, is to remember to remain in the moment, intact with your discernment about what is happening, and to be willing to use every single scrap, every single iota, every single gram, every single crumb of what is going on, if it is there for a reason. It is there for your reason. In that sense, it is all an orchestration. There are no accidents in that manner. So every little, single thing, no matter how insignificant it may seem, we're not saying you have to become fixated on it in terms of being fixated on all the details, but simply realize and allow that everything that is going on, no matter what it is, no matter how big, no matter how small, is there for a reason as part of the whole picture that you happen to be at that moment. Do not discount or dismiss or ignore or deny anything that is going on in your reality at any given moment, because if you do, you are denying a portion of the presence, you are denying a portion of your power, you are denying a portion of your orchestration, and therefore not capable of allowing the next moment to occur, because you are unwilling to allow this moment to be fully what it needs to be. You must accept yourself totally. And this brings us to the final point of this brief idea, this brief sharing, and that, once again, is that no matter how many techniques you may get from us or elsewhere, no matter how many tools for manifestation or living your life you may get from us or elsewhere, no matter how many ideas, no matter how many philosophies, no matter how many understandings you have about reality or yourself that you wish to apply to make change in your life, no matter how many you get, no matter where they come from, they are all hinged, first and foremost, on your unconditional love of yourself, on your true valuation of yourself, on your true and total acceptance of yourself, and the cessation of denial of your being. If you do not value yourself first, love yourself unconditionally, accept yourself as you are, you cannot use any of these tools in any way, shape, or form. They will not be effective because you will not be present to use them. Only by loving yourself unconditionally, even if you know you wish to change. Only by loving yourself as you are unconditionally gives you the power to stay in the present, to be able to use the tools that we are sharing with you, or anyone may share with you, Because only in the present is your point of power. You only exist in the here and now. And if you are not allowing yourself to accept yourself fully, then you are not being in the present. If you're not in the present, you cannot use the things that exist in the present, because that's the only place things exist, here and now. So if you pretend that you're not here, if you ignore a portion of yourself, if you deny a portion of what is happening in your life, as if it were not a reflection of you, then you deny yourself the capability and the power to use all the knowledge, all the empirical mechanical understanding, all the consideration, all the definitions we have shared or others have shared with you. So it begins with you. It continues with you. It ends with you in the sense of knowing that you are made out of unconditional love of the infinite, and thus if you do not reflect in thought, word, and deed all that unconditional love, which again does not mean that you dispense with discernment about recognizing what you prefer as a vibration, but nevertheless recognizing that you can still unconditionally allow, unconditionally love, equally allow all choices to be valid, while then choosing, while then making the choice from your recognition, from your unconditional love, those things that you know represent your truth, your vibration, your reality, as your understanding of the consciousness of the being that you were created to be. Therefore, with this in mind, we thank you once again for allowing us at this timing to share this tidbit of information with you, this perspective, this point of view. And in return for the gift that you are giving our civilization in allowing us to experience this interaction with each and every one of you, I ask you now in return, in what way at this time may I and my world be of service to you? You, good day.
Good day. I went to Joshua Tree this weekend.
All right. Your Joshua Tree area.
Joshua Tree area. And I went deeper into that location.
Yes, sir.
And I have to say it was just totally incredible there.
Well, if you have to say it, then by all means, please go ahead.
It was beautiful.
Thank you.
And I sat there, and I had a couple of things came about. A name, Shatala, came to me. Does that have any meaning?
It has many meanings. We will not go into it now. Continue.
Okay.
I want you to understand something, however, before you continue.
Okay.
Paying attention to what we have already said, we understand in some senses, shall we say colloquially, why are you asking that question, does it have any meaning? But again, to point something out very important to you, in many ways it had lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of potential meaning until you ask the question, does it have any meaning? Which in and of itself is a negation of any meaning it could have.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Because you know it has meaning, because you're creating the meaning, because you're creating the reflection, and you're creating the symbol. So obviously, it would not exist if it didn't have the embodiment of all the meaning you needed to have to reflect that meaning back to you so you can view yourself from a new perspective with that symbol functioning as a reflective mirror. So, to ask the question, does it have meaning, is really the negation of any meaning you could discern with your own imagination. Okay. Does that make sense to you?
It does make sense, and now I'll tell you how I came about having that name coming to me. During my meditation, I asked, who am I?
Yes.
And it came back, the answer I got was Princess Shatala.
All right.
And later...
how did that feel?
How did it feel?
Yes, how did it feel? I believe that was the question. Did it feel comfortable? Did it feel awkward? How did it feel?
It felt very comfortable.
Oh, like very comfortable.
I was sitting on top of some rocks, and I had an incredible panorama in front of me.
All right, on your throne surveying your kingdom, or if you wish, your princessdom.
Princessdom, right.
All right.
Actually, that's how it felt.
Yes. And so, what do you make of that?
It sort of transformed later as I was there, because
right.
I started to write a little bit. I felt, oh God,
You felt, oh God.
Oh God, I felt. There was so much I couldn't write it down.
Yes.
So I couldn't contain it all, evidently.
You obviously do contain it. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to write it all out. But you do contain it, or you wouldn't have had the experience.
Okay. I felt like that where I was at was
yes.
where I wanted to live forever.
Exactly so.
And I realized
in that vibration, in that
exactly.
energy. Yes.
And I felt that I could. It was mine to live in that location.
Of course.
In that vibration.
Yes.
So
doesn't that mean a lot to you?
I create my own reality.
Yes.
Okay. And
you are your reality. Let's go a step further now. Not so much you create your reality, because there are many different kinds of misunderstandings and implications that can go along with creating a phrase that lengthy. You are your reality. They are one and the same, synonymous.
I am my reality.
Of course. It is made of you. Your reality is made of you, of your view of yourself. That's what your reality is a manifestation of. So beyond the concept of I create my reality, you just really can't help but do anything but, because your reality is actually you. An experience, a perspective, a point of view you have of yourself at that moment. So, do continue.
Okay, and then what I was getting was that there was much that had to be done, and that this was just I was just beginning to tap into the energy that was available to me. That I am it. And it was coming to me, you are it. You are it.
That's what we just told you. You are it.
Exactly. Well, this is what I wrote. That's what I'm reading.
Oh, all right. Go ahead. Read us all the story.
There will be a time when I'll be shown what will be done with all that I'm learning now.
Yes.
There's a purpose. I don't know what that purpose is at this moment, but just whatever is going on is what's going on. And I accept that, and I don't need to know the end result, obviously, since I like a surprise.
Oh, you'll get one. Maybe more than one. Maybe 2 or 3.
And one of the main messages is to feel, to follow my intentions and to feel.
Yes.
Stay in my feeling dimension.
Yes.
And that all will open up to me.
Yes. And how do you stay in that dimension?
By being in the moment.
And by what did we already talk about in our opening conversation? Simple, simple. You stay in that reality by choosing to.
Right. By choosing.
By not having to maintain it,
right.
Not having to need stamina in order for it to remain, by simply being in the moment, as you say, and in that moment, choosing to be that vibration. Simple as that. Yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's comfortable there.
Yes,
okay.
Because it is comfortable, because it is
my choice.
Because it is
me.
Yes. That's why it's comfortable there. It is you at that moment. In the next moment, you may be different, and therefore something else will be comfortable in that moment. Make sense?
It makes sense.
All right, do continue. Anything else?
That was the main thing. At the end of it, it said, my name is Shatala. So then I wasn't sure if this was a guide of mine.
Does it matter?
No, it really doesn't matter.
And why doesn't it matter?
Because it is what it is, and this is the message.
Because you can still use it however you wish, no matter where it comes from.
Right.
And therefore it is for you a guidance, whether or not it is the result or the product of a guide, whether or not it is a recognition of a past or future life, whether or not it is the recognition of an alternate self or a higher self or a parallel reality, whether or not it is any other kind of being or connection to portions of your own consciousness, does not really matter so much as what you choose to make of the vibration as you feel it within yourself. That's its purpose for existing. Make sense?
It makes sense.
Anything else?
I have one more question
on
a different issue at the moment.
Yes.
I had Daryl hold a stone that was sort of yellow,
Yes.
very dark yellow.
Yes.
Can you tell me what we thought it was part of the amber glass that Ellie has, but it's very much different.
No, it is slightly different.
It is slightly different?
Okay.
It's just the lightness of it because of the way it's cut?
Okay, so, well, again, everything that is created to be a difference does exhibit a difference, and because it does contain the amber coloration, it still has some affinity to the concept of the vibration that is represented by that color, by that electromagnetic frequency, although, of course, it is cut differently, it is a different shade, therefore it will have slightly different applications, even though it may be within the same relative domain.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. And I have one more question.
Okay.
I'm wearing the 2 hearts, one in the front and one in the back, upside down.
Yes.
And as soon as I put it on, which was about 20 minutes ago, I guess, I felt a very strong surge of energy and actually weak in the knees.
Oh, all right.
And here, this is that feeling again that we talked about with the Merlin stone.
Yes.
I have that same buildup of energy, and all week long I was reading a little bit about Merlin and transformation.
Right. Did you get into the spirit in the way that we had indicated to you in our last conversation, my lady? Did you get more fully into the spirit, into the vibration that was available to thee?
I think I did.
Think you did.
I'm working on it.
Thou thinkest thou didst.
Thou thinkest thou didst.
Didst thou or not?
Nay.
Oh, all right. Wouldst thou likest to?
Yes.
Then I would suggest that you take stronger clue from the hint we gave thee and allow yourself to play more within that vibrational energy. More fully become that vibration as you would think it to be, and play act it through you to whatever degree feels comfortable to your personage. All right?
Okay.
This is part and parcel of what it means to be the exemplification of the concept of royalty, in that you understand that in that position you symbolize archetypally all of the different facets of the culture you represent, and thus can play through and contain all the different aspects of that particular society that you represent the pinnacle of. Maketh sense?
Maketh sense.
Can you play with that then?
Yes, I will play with it.
Why, we thank you.
And I thank you.
Bashar.
Good day.
How you doing?
Perfect, and you?
Good. I had, upon your recommendation, read that book, Cosmic Voyage, where they said that there was a Martian civilization living underground in Mount St. Baldy.
A slightly genetically altered remnant of the ancient civilization exists in a few places around your world, but not the entire civilization that has not been brought through yet from the past time of the inhabitation of that other world. But yes, there are a few genetically altered remnants that do exist upon your planet. Yes.
Well, according to the book, the ones at Mount St. Baldy needed our help, and we
Santa Fe
Baldy. That's right, Santa Fe Baldy.
Yes.
Needed our help, and we need their help, and apparently we need like a pioneer or a liaison.
In some senses, this is so, and any and all of you can function this way to some degree.
Well, I wanted to go there. I was wondering if you could tell me exactly how to get to them.
You will have to trust your instincts on this, because this is part of the idea of functioning as a liaison, is to extend your senses and extend your energy to them in unconditional love and acceptance, and allow them to determine when they feel the timing is right to expose themselves to any member of your society. For that is completely in their hands, not yours.
So I couldn't go there and sort of drag them out?
You cannot drag them out, no. What purpose would there be in that?
Well, to try and help them. And
Oh, I see. So in other words, you feel you can help them by forcing them to do something they don't want yet to do. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I was under the impression by the book
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Why would you imagine that you can help someone by forcing them to be uncomfortable?
Well, because I think they're afraid of us.
Yes, of course. Do they not have good reason?
They have good reason, but I feel that I could protect them.
Oh, I see. Then you, in that sense, cannot help them at all. Understand, You cannot protect anyone. The idea is to get beyond the concept of needing protection. If you will create with them, co-create an environment of more unconditionally loving energy in which no concept of protection is required, they will then know that the environment exists in which they can function openly. But if you go in with the idea that I will protect you, all you're doing is reinforcing that protection is required, which simply gives them the message it is too dangerous for you to interact. Do you understand?
Yes.
Does that make sense to you mechanically?
Yes, definitely.
Does that help clarify the situation then?
Yes. Do you have any helpful hints or recommendations?
Just gave you the biggest one I could. Get beyond the concept of the world as you now see it, and help create vibrationally in thought, word, and deed the world as you know it can be, and as you know it exists within your heart of hearts. That is what they will read, that is what they will pick up on more strongly than any assurance, verbally or mentally, you could give them that it's safe and all right to come out. Because they know, in a sense, it is not. All right?
I see.
Does that help you?
Yes.
Then by all means follow your intuition and your instinct about going to the area if you want to, because it will make a difference that you make a showing. But again, it will be up to them to gauge your energy, to gauge their energy, and to make the determination for themselves as to when they deem it is appropriate to make any kind of solid contact with any member of your species.
Could you give me a closer area besides Santa Fe Baldy? Like what part of the mountain?
Closer to what?
What part of the mountain?
Again, you will have to trust your instincts.
Trust my instincts. Okay.
Because if you do not develop those instincts, it will not be possible for you to find their energy frequency and to, in that sense, let them know that a new reality can be created, because part of the process is, in a sense, meeting them halfway by expanding your sensory apparatus in a similar manner to the level on which they exist.
Do they understand that they're Martians? That they're from Mars?
Of course they do.
Well, I heard there's a civilization in South America that they didn't remember their roots. They didn't remember.
There are many members that do not, but in general the elders do. Okay. It is not that important that they remember in the way that you might think, but they know it within their being that they are, in a sense, assimilating into a new reality. Some of that assimilation in and of itself may make the so-called connection to Mars become less of an awareness within them, in the same way that many of you are, shall we say, incarnations of beings that at one time may have lived on Mars, but also have no memory of that except in what you might call a very large archetypal overview. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, definitely.
Does that help you then?
Yes, thank you.
Then have a good trip.
Thank you.
Yes, good day.
How are you?
Perfect, and you?
Great.
Oh,
great.
Thank you.
I am very great today.
Oh, all right, thank you.
I've been doing, since last Friday, a lot of things going on and sort of nothing going on.
Oh, all right.
Low energy, and it was perfectly fine. I slept a lot.
Yes, sometimes this is necessary.
Right. And
follow your own pace.
Oh, yes, and it was fine.
Yes.
Then, yesterday afternoon, I had made up the Bose-Einstein condensate, with the two hearts.
Yes.
And one upside down and hanging around the neck.
Yes.
And this was going off to somebody else, but I decided to put it on.
All right.
And start wearing it, and I did from about 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon until just before I went to bed, and I put it on this morning and just took it off about 5. And very subtle, but I noticed how my energy really changed.
In what way?
Oh, very uplifting spirit, much more energized, much more alive. I wasn't tired anymore.
All right.
And yet it was subtle at the same time, and yet it was, very much alive and sort of a euphoric
Yes. All right.
feeling. And then I was noticing on the way driving here that I had said to it that, my intention, of course, was I know that it can put you back to your natural state and everything. And my eyesight seems to be better already.
All right.
And so I'm really enjoying that. Then, upon waking this morning, I want to share a dream.
Right.
You were in the dream.
Oh, all right.
Sort of orchestrating. There were two males.
Orchestrating.
Yeah, orchestrating.
That I have a baton.
No, you didn't have a baton,
all right.
but it felt like an orchestration of of participation and sort of not leading, but sort of leading. There were two males. One I knew, a friend of mine had died about 1.5 years ago.
All right.
And then there were two other females besides myself.
Okay.
And I was very detailed symbolically in my death. And I was, like there was a with some flower feeling to it, and I was like adorning it, preparing it. And it was symbolic. It wasn't like ashes or something, from that kind of, that urn that one would put ashes into. But it was very uplifting, but it was very symbolic of my death, and it was joyous.
All right.
And
then truly you have allowed yourself to begin to transcend to a new vibrational level by having that kind of relationship with the concept of death of the old self and the willingness to move into a new domain.
Yes, it was, I don't know, the association with the men, there was something about, at first there's something about money, and us women, the three of us, something that we had taken the money, we were going to go move. We felt that we had to have total new identity, all of this.
Yes, you have, in the three portions of your feminine self, accepted the idea of the coin, of the abundance, of the energy that represents your ability to re-identify and redefine yourself on all levels of your being. Accepted it from that which has typically, in a sense, shall we say, administered the idea of that kind of recognition of wealth from the masculine side of yourself, and now have empowered all aspects of the feminine side of yourself, beginning, middle, and end, past, present, future, young, middle, and old, to allow yourself to enable yourself, literally in the context of that word, to enable yourself now to use the coin of transition and transformation to upgrade yourself, uplift yourself on all levels in an integrated, or shall we say a more integrated fashion of equality and balance.
Oh, yeah.
This is what it symbolizes.
Right. Yeah, it was very, very powerful, very beautiful.
Anytime you come into your power, it will be.
Yeah.
All of you.
It was very beautiful.
Yes, and still is.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And
so then?
And that was pretty much that.
Yes.
And again, the hearts that I'm really enjoying this frequency. This I guess there's the 0 point energy. There's null point.
Again, that is a factor within the equation that allows you more opportunity to recognize the ability to transcend and transition, because you know that everything is coming from that 0 point.
Right.
And when you are coming from the 0 point, then everything is equal as a choice and thus effortless as a choice.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
So you have accelerated your ability to transition, your ability to change with this particular vision and exercise and experience of self.
Yes. And thank you very much. I
Thank you.
To share that.
Thank you. Yes, good day.
Okay, now I got it. This object that is accompanying the Hale-Bopp
The object that is not there.
That is not there, right?
Yes. What about the object that is not there?
Do you expect it to come close to the Earth, like as close as the comet itself? Because if it does,
since it is associated with the idea symbolically of the comet as a reflector of different probable future realities, of course, its proximity, that is, the comet's proximity, represents the idea that this is coming closer to the forefront of your collective consciousness, that is, your ability to choose more consciously the idea of what reality you all prefer. Therefore, in a sense, it will come as symbolically, reflectively close as the comet. But since it is not really something that has mass, it does not matter how close it comes. It will not affect the mass of your reality, your physical reality, in any way, shape, or form, in a direct sense, since it is a massless concept.
Well, it will cast a lot of light. Probably at nighttime it'll be brighter than the moon.
Again, the idea is simply that you can transform the light in any way, shape, or form you so desire. The idea is, again, to understand you are looking through a window. And thus, in that you are looking through a window, or perhaps more appropriately, looking at a reflection in a mirror, you can understand that no matter how big, no matter how impactful the reflection appears, it is a reflection, and in and of itself, no matter how bright it may be, is massless. It is a reflection of you, the mass of all of you, in that it seems bigger than your own planet should show you, symbolically, how big you actually are. And that the idea of your physical world, in a sense, is being held in your minds as many times smaller than it actually is when you include the idea of the astral, the etheric, the causal realms, and all the light, physical and non-physical, your world actually contains as being reflected back by the idea of the symbolism of that apparently large object. It's showing you the true magnitude of your own selves. Do you understand more clearly now what it is?
Well, yeah, to some degree I do, as much as I can, but I'm
You are
kind
simply
of
making it more mysterious than it needs to be. You would understand me clearly if you would simply take me literally, instead of taking it literally.
I guess I'm trying to figure out what effect it's going to have on our populace.
I have already told you over and over and over again. Why is it that you do not want to hear?
Well,
what have I already told you the effect would be?
That it gives us the opportunity to look into another dimension.
And is that not something that can create a very powerful effect? Do you not understand that if you were to look into a mirror and see more of yourself as you really are, would that not impact every aspect of your life? If you had a mirror in which you could look, a magic mirror in which you could look and actually see your whole being instead of just your physical self, would that not impact you greatly in terms of how you think of yourself and how you behave and act in your world and the things you choose to do by knowing how great you actually are, how powerful you actually are, how much light you actually contain, how big you really are? Would that not make all the difference in your world to see your full self in the mirror?
Sure would.
Well, then, is that not great impact?
You expect most of the populace to be able to see this?
I don't expect anything at all. I am simply telling you what will happen for those that are willing to see it and willing to understand that they are viewing more of themselves and what that understanding will do when they awaken to the fact that that is a reflection of their true power in this dimension of reality.
Yeah.
That's what I am saying.
For the ones that don't, all they'll see is a great big huge light in the sky.
Well, they will see the comet. It may, in that sense, mean many different kinds of things to them. But again, remember, you don't necessarily have to see it that way to still know that, in a sense, the reflection is there and to still allow yourself to create the impact from it as a reflection archetypally. It doesn't necessarily have to be in any way, shape, or form visible to anyone's senses to still have impact, because again, in that it is a reflection of more of yourself, that should also show you that there are more senses coming alive that can sense it on many different levels than just the idea of visually. In fact, for some individuals, it may be more impactful that they don't see it visually, because then they will not, in their own mind, allow their vision to obscure, in a sense, what the true impact can be by receiving the energy on different levels. Does that make sense to you?
So some people will see the light and others won't see it. I mean,
correct.
I mean, it'll be so bright
they will see the comet. They may not see the other thing because it again is multidimensional reflection. But many of them do not necessarily have to visually see it to feel the impact of the change it represents and to know they have, in some sense, sensed more of themselves. You understand?
Yeah, yeah. Is this visible in the daylight, do you think, at that time?
For some individuals. Because again, remember, you are seeing into another dimension. Therefore, the concept of day and night in your physical reality has no bearing on whether or not you can see it. Do you understand that?
Yeah, yeah, I do.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that part of it, yeah.
All right.
They're detecting radio waves from it.
It is existent on all levels of light. You are looking at this way too mechanically. It is not that the radio waves don't exist, but right now the idea of the detection of radio waves is simply a reflection of the fact that that's the level most of you are looking at things on, a low frequency wavelength. And the idea, therefore, is that you will first perceive the low frequency wavelengths from your reflection in return. But as you step yourselves up, you will perceive higher frequency wavelengths. But again, remember, these wavelengths are not coming from the object. They are being reflected by the idea back to you to show you more of yourself. You are looking at yourselves in the mirror of all that is. That is symbolized by the timing of the comet. As it is time to look at yourselves, that's what the comet symbolizes. Therefore, it is bringing with it the opportunity and the ability to see, literally see, more of yourselves, the bigger you, the bigger world, the true size of the earth, so to speak, beyond the physical. Make sense?
Yeah.
Thank you. You, and then you. Number 2, do you know who you are? All right. Number 1. Good day.
Good day. A few times ago, we were talking, and you said something to me about play.
Yes.
And about I think you said my specific idea of play. Were you talking about play for us in general or me specific?
Both.
You just said it.
When are you going to your Hawaii? Thought you already said you were going.
Well, I'm moving there.
Yes, when?
But I might go before I move there.
All right. When are you going and when are you moving there?
Well, I'll probably go in January.
And when are you moving there?
Maybe the middle of the year. It seems like I'll be ready. I'm just going to aim for it.
All right.
I don't have a date. I'll just be ready when it's time.
All right. But remember that if that is really reflective of your natural self, you don't have to aim for it because all you're doing is aiming for yourself and you're already right here.
Then asking me when I'm going to go is kind of an odd thing, too, because
Yes,
there's no time.
What do you make of that?
We're playing.
Yes, we are. And giving you an opportunity to examine this from many different perspectives and to understand that it is not necessarily something you have to plan to do. Understand?
Yeah, I'm good with no plans.
All right. That is sometimes, not always, but sometimes the best plan of all.
But this is the first time I actually have, my heart is singing loud. And
that is playing too.
And I know that it's time now because I can feel it.
All right.
So then, what's
in
that?
what ways have you determined you shall learn to play more and more and more like your true natural self?
It's not something I plan.
Exactly. Are you doing it then?
Yes.
All right. Then that is specifically what we meant for you, and in general for anyone who wishes to do the same for themselves.
Okay, about the name Miriam.
Yes, sir. What about her?
And in regards to my present.
Yes.
This present.
Yes.
All I could think of is just coming into more of my goddess self.
Yes. It has to do with that and has to do with several other things, but that's, shall we say, a step on the right path.
You want to share anything on any of those other things?
If I did, I would, wouldn't I?
I just wanted to make sure.
Believe me, I would let you know if it were appropriate.
Okay. I was wondering what my average frequency for the last couple months has been.
Good heavens. Average. 2 months of your time,
That'll do.
83,564 cycles per second.
Okay. Can I have a high and a low too?
154,720 cycles per second is the high in general. From time to time, there have been a few 35,000 cycle per second also along the wavelengths. But again, this is to some degree, give or take, fluctuations within the last 2 month period of time, taking into account also only one particular time manifestational stream.
That doesn't even sound like me because I seem like I've been having a lot more fun than that.
But there are moments. The idea, of course, is to understand that 37,000 cycles per second doesn't necessarily mean you are not having fun. And the fact that you would assume that to be the case is proof of the fact that the 37,000 cycle per second issue does come up for you from time to time, as it just did.
Well, I'm actually living the other way. I remember one time when you told me 180, and I feel more like I'm always feeling happier than I've been. So
you missed the point.
Well, maybe I am, because I sometimes think of frequency and happiness or joy as...
Then stop doing so. That is what I'm telling you now. Stop making that association. Sometimes it is part of your path and necessary that you decrease your frequency for a variety of reasons. To assume that it somehow lessens your joy is the assumption in and of itself that would lessen your joy.
Well, that's a beautiful way to put it.
Make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 2. And to you, good day. Oh, all right, if you have to.
I just wanted to ask you one thing.
Oh, all right, just one then.
Okay. About a week ago, I was in San Francisco, and I was walking through this park, and I saw a dead raccoon that had just been, I don't know, I'm assuming it had just been run over.
Oh, all right.
And so when I passed by, I said a prayer for it to help its spirit to, pass into the other world.
Yes.
And didn't think about it really after that. And last night I was doing a meditation, and the raccoon appeared in my meditation, and it helped me realize that I was holding on to a tribal belief that no longer serves me.
All right. So in that sense, it returns the favor.
Okay. I see that. My question was going to be to ask you
what does it symbolize?
Yeah,
the revelation of hidden information.
Okay. And is there other meanings symbolically in the Native American ancestry of a raccoon? Because
more specifically, in that sense, the revelation of certain patterns of nature that have to do with tempo, pace, so on and so forth, but also the idea of ritual to some degree, and sacred ritual to some degree. You understand?
Yes.
Does that help you?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Good day.
I have a Q-link around me tonight, and I was wondering if you could...
Define.
Okay, it's a something I bought at a Whole Life Expo, and it's has to do for it enhances your health.
In what way?
Well, I find that it makes me feel better, more whole, and more comfortable, and it provides energy.
All right. Do you understand that, in a sense, it is not doing this, but that you are allowing yourself to do this with the reflective assistance of that symbol? You understand that?
Yes.
All right. Then?
Does it also work on quantum mechanical level?
Yes, of course, because you do.
Okay. So is it totally just a reflection of my own belief?
Everything is.
Yeah.
Even if it, in a sense, empirically as a physical object, is actually doing something, that doesn't take away from the fact that it is a reflection only of your state of consciousness and what you are willing to grant yourself permission to allow yourself to create.
Am I at this time willing to accept more things similar to this?
You ask the question, does that not in and of itself mean that you are? Is the question in and of itself not a tool that indicates that you are?
Yes.
Well then, you have your answer.
Yeah, well, thank you for that teaching, because now I know that.
All right. You already knew it, which is the only reason I could say it to you.
That's the only
Another
reason.
reflection.
That's why I asked it.
Yes. But you could have answered it yourself as well. In a sense, you did.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, in a sense, it's a revelation that,
yes.
I'm surprised that I can create so
You are
much.
Surprised.
Yeah, because I've never thought in this way. Well,
I see.
At least so focused about.
Oh, all right. Would you like more of that kind of surprise?
Yes, I would.
Then by all means, go right ahead and create some.
Okay, right.
More specifically, go right ahead and allow some. All right?
Okay.
Does that help you?
Yes, it does, Bashar. Thank you.
Thank you. You, and then you. Number 2, do you know who you are? All right. Number 1, good day.
Hello. I would like to discuss the concepts of surrender and free will.
Go right ahead and discuss.
I've been listening to a woman on some tapes by the name of Carolyn Mace, and she makes statements like, well, if you want to make God laugh, go ahead and tell him your plan.
Yes.
If you, when talking about living your life, sort of jokingly saying, well, but then, who said you had authority over your own life anyway?
Yes.
And I am at a place in my life where I feel like I'm agreeing to disagree, because I recognize that I have reactions to those kinds of statements,
yes.
being brought up Catholic and then removing myself from that dogma,
yes.
and coming into a more widely open accepting of all religions and yet no religions.
It is that sense of acceptance, the total energy, the total sense of that concept you are experiencing called acceptance that is actually being discussed in the utilization of those terminologies.
No, I don't follow you.
Oh, all right. It is mostly that you're having a semantic difficulty, in that your language can apparently mean many different things. Different words can apparently mean many different things, and it isn't always clear as to exactly what might be meant with the utilization of a particular word, such as you have no authority, so on and so forth. The idea is that obviously your life is your life. Otherwise it would be someone else's. In that sense, you are authorized by creation. In the strict sense of the word, you are authorized. And in that sense, the idea, however, of total acceptance of what it is you are as the authorization of the reality perspective you are, the total acceptance of the authorization of the reality you are, of the portion of the infinite you are, is synonymous with the concept of surrendering to your true natural self and the utilization of your free will to be totally in alignment with the acceptance and recognition of who and what you actually are. Does that make any sense to you?
Yes, I think so. So using your free will to, well, basically what you say all the time is follow synchronicities and the like.
What you perhaps may thus gain some assistance with is to understand that the idea of utilizing your free will is, more often than not in physical reality, a methodology of viewing yourself from many different perspectives so that you can make the ultimate determination of exactly who you are authorized to be. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And that then, in that recognition, is the total acceptance and surrender into your natural self, which you have arrived at through the utilization of your free will to see yourself from many different perspectives that, when integrated together, will give you a clearer understanding of who and what you actually are as a consciousness and as a reflection of the infinite. And at that level, your free will and what is euphemistically referred to as divine will are one and the same thing. Not that it overrides you. It simply is that when you recognize your true self, your true authorization as a portion of the infinite, to represent yourself as the authority of being your portion of the infinite and your uniqueness being totally validated by yourself and accepted by yourself, do you then at that level integrate the idea of free will so perfectly with the idea of self-acceptance and unconditional love that your free will and the idea of divine will simply becomes synonymous. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. Yes.
Does that help clarify what is usually meant by these terminologies?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 2.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
No, I teach a business class.
Oh, all right.
And
you teach a business class.
Yes. And what I've been noticing, especially over the last 6 months, is that a lot of the things that we teach, the words have to do with things like protection.
Yes.
Their defensive strategies.
Yes.
And I look at the whole system and I see how legalistic it is.
Of course.
And so I wonder about functioning in it, and also...
Yes. There are 2 ways to approach this, primarily. Not that there are not more, but fundamentally. Number 1, allow yourself to understand that if that's the idea you are working with, then you can simply also, at the same time, avail yourself of certain concepts, but you can also recognize that there may be other ways to relate to those concepts in terms of simply positioning yourself to achieve the same effect, so to speak, without necessarily seeing it for the same reason or in the same modality. In other words, by simply honoring what you know is true for yourself and positioning yourself relative to whatever else is going on, you can know that that is a statement of who and what you are, of your preference, of your vibrational preference. Others may choose to call it positioning yourself for protective reasons, but you can also recognize that it's simply a statement of your vibrational preference. It may have the same effect in their eyes of protecting you from certain things, but you don't necessarily have to look at it as a protection, to simply recognize it as a statement of position. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, so it's the energy frequency that you apply to
yes.
it as you look at
At the same time, you can also, by understanding that you're coming perhaps from a slightly different or a very different energy frequency domain, also to some degree invent whole new concepts and share those whole new concepts at a time, bit at a time, or quickly or slowly with other individuals, and thereby, in a sense, sometimes actually replace old definitions with new ones that are more compatible with the way you prefer to function.
And is that something that can then start to alter the system in general?
It is something that will create an alternate system, not alter the system, create an alternate system that many individuals may choose to participate in. It will have nothing at all to do with altering the other system.
Almost like a blending of what has been outside the system and what is considered inside the system.
To some degree, you are simply making available by that process more options within a greater picture of what the system has to offer. You understand?
Uh-huh.
You are extracting more elements from what can exist in the overall system and suggesting that there may be a vibrational resonance path that many people would find preferable to the one that they have been taking, both attitudinally and semantically.
So there's a sense of following the path of least resistance, which may actually be doing something within the structure
yes.
and honoring it,
yes.
but not giving it the same meaning.
And not giving it the same power in that sense. Correct.
Okay.
This is why we again remind every one of you that nothing has built-in meaning. And you can adopt a particular stance. One individual may see that stance as protective. Another individual may truly recognize it simply as grounded and centered, which to some degree will create the same effect, so to speak. Although in some senses, sometimes, the idea of having to adopt a protective stance can actually bring about the antithesis of what the grounded stance will bring about. Do you understand?
Yes.
Because of the difference in semantic vibration between the concept of needing protection and simply being grounded to such a degree that your reality doesn't contain any of the ideas that another individual may be afraid of and seek to protect themselves from, which of course, paradoxically, will usually bring about the challenge of facing those things.
Right. I really like that feeling of groundedness in
yes.
that sense.
Yes.
Yeah, so that it's easy for me to communicate that.
Yes. Does that help
the philosophy, yeah. The other thing, I don't really want to go into the dream per se, but there was a symbol that came up that I'd be interested in what comes to you about this. And it was an insect. It was quite large.
Yes.
It was I would say a cross between a wasp and a bee.
Yes.
And I think it was yellow and orange, and I think
this is to some degree a perceptive interpretation of an encounter with one level of another dimensional consciousness.
Which was?
What many individuals typically refer to as the mantis, but is actually many more things than that.
I was terrified.
Many people are.
And someone in this dream went over and took bug spray and sprayed it and killed it.
Yes. Again, your symbolic reaction to the idea of that which you fear, but also at the same time a good lesson for you, because you will now understand that based on the things we have just been discussing, you are being given an opportunity by that energy to really get in touch with where you really do feel you may need some protection, because there may be fears within you that are calling forth that attitude, as opposed to simply being grounded and knowing that you do not necessarily need to protect yourself from that energy, because it is only a reflection of certain portions of your own energy.
Yeah.
So in that sense, that being was helping you get in touch with what we have just discussed on the concept of protection. You understand?
Yeah, and it was weird because after it was killed, then it sort of someone came in and it pushed it on me.
Yes.
So then, and I was still just as scared of it when it was dead.
Yes. But at least you were giving yourself an opportunity to allow it to get closer when you knew, in a sense, it couldn't really hurt you. You follow?
Uh-huh.
Does that help you?
Yeah, that helps me a lot. Thank you for that.
Thank you. You. Thank you. You.
Well, it's been a very exciting week for me.
Oh, all right. Thank you for that creation.
I feel like I'm vibrating almost out of the room, but...
in a sense, from time to time.
Well, what's happened is it seems like all of a sudden I've sort of found myself in a place where I'm a communicator.
Right.
And
what do you mean all of a sudden?
Well, I mean, I always felt confident communicating through music, but all of a sudden I'm called upon to
a different modality.
Share ideas,
all right.
Which I love to do,
yes. But what? Which I love to do, but you have no idea how this translates on our side.
I know, it sounds really
I
insane.
love to do this, but...
Well, you know what it is? I want
yes.
clarity
yes.
and information, and I want knowledge to make sure that what I'm conveying is... It's still such a mystery to me, and yet I'm asked to talk about something that
yes.
I haven't unraveled yet.
Then allow yourself to add the full communication, which is, as you have just said to us. It is, in many ways, still a mystery to me, but this is what I am compelled to communicate. Take it as you wish.
Okay, I think I did that.
Well, then,
you
have, as you say, covered all your bases.
Oh, good, because I'm not credentialed, but I feel authorized.
Credentialed.
Well, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, in a sense, authorized, as long as you allow other individuals to understand that you understand. This is your perspective and your perspective only, that you are sharing it because this is what you are compelled to do, because this is who you are, and that you understand they do not have to believe you, but it may give them food for thought.
Oh, it's definitely done that.
But as long as you present it that way, you will remain centered. And in your own communications, clear.
Well, you know what's happened is a lot of people have come to me asking for guidance and information, and I feel like I don't have enough to give, you know.
Again, the idea is that you are simply experiencing trepidation in the idea of being put on a pedestal. Allow yourself to understand that as long as you clearly communicate that what you are sharing is your point of view, and allow them to understand that as clearly as possible, then you will be able to flow whatever information you have. And do understand, sometimes the necessary information is not necessarily going to come across vocally. You don't necessarily always have to think you have to have something to say in order to actually communicate something very important or profound.
Yeah, I've gotten that impression too.
Yeah. So, the more you simply relax about what this communication idea is all about, the more spontaneously you will automatically allow yourself to communicate what needs to be communicated and in the way it needs to be communicated, because many different kinds of communications do require, as you know, different styles of communication to go along with the particular message.
I guess what I hope to achieve is...
What you hope to achieve.
What I want to...
What you want
whatever.
to be.
Yes.
Yes.
Is I don't really wish to press buttons and hurt people or make them angry, but...
What do you mean by that? Look what you've done now. I am totally upset by the fact that you said that. What do you mean you don't want to press buttons? How dare you? Well, I'm not going to finish this conversation with you. You have now absolutely upset and angered me. You see, you can't help it.
I guess not.
Because it's not necessarily your doing. There may be individuals who always will simply choose to press their own buttons and blame it on you. So you can't get around that.
Okay.
If you go into it with the worry that that's what you're doing again, take a moment to simply double check and make sure that you are doing the best you know how. If you find someone does come across as having had their buttons pushed and being upset, you can say, all right, I apologize if in fact I did anything unintentionally to invalidate you, but it was not my intention to do so.
Okay.
I was not aware that I had done so. In checking, I may even find that I really believe I did not do so. The point simply is that you do the best you can and you not take responsibility for their choices as long as you have been totally responsible to them to make it clear as best you know how that you are simply being yourself, and in no way, shape, or form are you expecting anything in particular of them or from them in this communication, and they then can be put back in touch with handling the responsibility of how they choose to respond or react to you. You cannot in any way, shape, or form, as you say in your language, walk on eggshells with the idea of avoiding all of that, because you still live in a world of much duality and many different perspectives and belief systems still reside in your reality in general. And just to make a point of it, if that was really something to be concerned about, certainly we would not have been yammering at your society for 13 of your years. Because you know that there are many buttons that get pushed in these interactions with our species, simply because of the nature of interaction.
Well, can I ask? Yes, I do. And then I thank you so much. It's allayed a lot of silliness on my part.
It's all right. It is one of your own buttons.
I realize that. When I needed some help unraveling some of my experiences,
in what sense?
You gave me Courtney Brown's book, which
I didn't give it to you.
Well, you suggested it.
I suggested that many of you may find some information that might be valuable to you there. Yes.
Yeah, and it was very valuable.
All right, that's your determination.
And I guess the research materials that I've come across seem to be extremely fear-based in terms of the reptilian connection.
Okay.
And
that is again because their collective consciousness represents the primal level correspondingly, symbolically, of your own primal level reptilian brain.
Yeah.
That level of your brain, which is the fight-or-flight survival modality, is the same or similar enough vibration to the collective consciousness reptilian frequency. And that's why they evoke that from all of you.
Well, and I guess I'm concerned that I need a source that I feel is really representative of what I'm experiencing, and all I can get it is from my experience.
Which would be what?
Well, maybe some literature that is closer to, what I'm feeling about the interaction.
Oh, no. You mean, oh, heaven forbid, you yourself may actually have to create that material? You may have to be the source? Oh, no.
Don't make me.
I'm not making you.
Well, can you give me any guidance? Because I'm really in the dark. It's so new to me.
You like being in the dark?
Actually, I do.
I know. Do you see any light in the dark?
Yeah, I do.
And what does that light represent for you? What do you imagine would be the kind of information you would like to share in this regard, on this subject?
Well, I just want to share the truth about it.
What kind of information do you imagine you would like to find?
The truth.
Can you give a specific example of the kind of information you would like to find?
Okay. You're asking me to ask questions about it if I want.
No, I'm asking you to make a statement. You can ask questions if you want, but I'm asking you to make a statement. What kind of information would you like to find? To put it in your own words, if I were to make a suggestion to look for something, what kind of information on the subject would you, quote-unquote, prefer it to turn out to be?
Can
you give us an imaginary example? I'll use the word imaginary
I guess I would
take some weight off of you.
I guess I would like to know that unraveling it would somehow enhance the process of us finding out who we are.
You would like to know that?
Yeah.
Then why don't you know that?
Well, I think I do.
You think you do. I'll consider believing it, but I'm not really sure I want to yet. That's what you just said.
Well, it's still such a mystery that I don't want to jump to any conclusion.
What has mystery got to do with your ability to believe it?
I guess I feel like there are so many theories that don't have anything to do with mine, and yet I feel like I might be buying into some of that.
All right. Well, this is where your discernment comes in, and if you want, you can simply allow yourself to take it a bit at a time, a piece at a time, and when you are, in your terms, uncertain, you don't have to include that in your theory right now at all. You can keep it on the shelf for a while, look at it from a number of different angles, take your time, examine it, play with it, taste it, smell it, touch it, hear it, look at it again. You don't have to include it right now. No one says that you have to incorporate any information into your perspective of life at any particular time.
I guess it's totally fascinating to me.
All right. Then allow yourself the opportunity to be at ease with your investigation. Do not be in such a hurry or impatient to come up with a final, definitive concept.
Because I think there are many different types of interactions with this
There
issue.
are. And therefore, take your time and you will find the one that A, defines your relationship to this idea, and B, you will then be comfortable sharing it in that modality, and C, you will then, while at the same time perhaps recognizing that there might be other relationship modalities going on, still to yourself attract those individuals of like vibration who are sharing common experience with your particular kind of modality. And that will expand your reality concurrently.
Well, I have to share with you, I was so shocked. I couldn't believe. I fully expected to be crucified.
Again?
Again, yes.
Aren't you tired of that?
I am.
Oh, all right.
And you know what's so interesting is even with all of the communications I've gotten from people, and some of them have been really stupid, and some of them have been...
I beg your pardon.
Well, I'm making a judgment, but
yes.
Some of them have
been... As long
been
as you recognize you are doing so.
Some of them have been less than comforting to me, let's say. But generally, I'm amazed at how many people I have the opportunity to... I mean, I've been communicating with them and changing their whole approach.
They are choosing to change.
Well, it's really amazing. I'm so excited by it.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
I never thought I would even talk about it like this.
Oh, all right. Well, then you surprised yourself.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for surprising yourself.
Well, and I keep remembering what Carolyn Mace said about something coming to you that isn't something that you would have ever considered.
Okay.
And how it's totally uncluttered by your expectations.
Yes.
Or
you are all much, 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 much. Much, 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 much bigger than you have allowed yourselves to imagine.
Yeah.
Much.
So you couldn't recommend a book to me, could you?
Yes, I can.
Really?
The one you will write.
Oh, man.
Oh.
I don't have time to write a book.
Oh, really? Guess it's time for more surprises then, isn't it?
Wow. Well, I thank you because I felt I just kept coming back to you in my mind when I was not knowing where I was going, when I was sharing my ideas. And
you came back to the portion of yourself that you use me to represent.
Well, thanks for being there.
Chapter 1.
Oh.
You! Good day.
Good day. As I hold this phallus and speak to you, I'm feeling very.
Yes, we are eager to hear how you are feeling now that you have explained what you are doing. Come.
Oh my God. Okay. Let me see here. Let me see. I feel like I've been like, on this path as I remember it, like about 11 years, just studying and doing whatever and bettering myself. And I'm feeling like I'm at my, lower than I was when I started right now.
I see. Lower than when you started.
Yeah, lower, judgmentally lower, but whatever.
All right. In what sense are you measuring this? In what way do you determine this to be so? By what signals and symbols do you give yourself to make this particular kind of an evaluation?
Well, I just the impetus for life is just kind of seems like what's the point, kind of not like in a morose way, but yeah, you know what I mean. Like, because if we create a reality and my universe is my reflection back to me, what does it matter what I do anyway? You know what I'm saying?
It matters in terms of the quality of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You determine what matters, and that determines the quality of the experience you have of life. But yes, you're right. That is the only reason in that sense it matters. Because you are deciding whether to be experiencing yourself holistically or as a collection of pieces. So, in one sense, the idea that things don't matter can be a positive, energizing understanding that all things are equal. It can be a validation of all the portions of the whole, and so you're not necessarily seeing one stand out from anything else, but that empowers your ability to allow the quality of your existence to be what you really prefer it to be. On the other hand, as you say, you can allow the idea to be somewhat neutral, not really going anywhere in any particular direction with it at all, or you can allow it in a sense to be structurally or mechanically negative, in the sense that you say, apathetic. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And so no matter manifestation will occur at all, and you will feel that you are going nowhere, because you are not allowing it to matter. Is this making some sense to you so far?
Materialized.
Yes. So you are at that crossroads where you can look at this from any point of view you wish and truly inject the energy you prefer to extract from this. The only thing in that sense, therefore, that matters is what you deem ought to matter in terms of what you deem yourself to be or what you deem is true for you. But that is a level of purity. A level of great purity and focus can come from this position if you are willing to use it that way, but you don't have to. It is to some degree an opportunity to, in what you may call a laughing manner, exemplify the phrase that has been created on your planet that goes something like this: since I gave up hope, I feel much better. The idea is that you let go. You have let go of all of the meanings you were giving to things. And so for now, for a moment, nothing seems to matter because you are no longer supplying automatic meaning. And thus it seems that everything is devoid of meaning, which it is. It's neutral. But again, you don't have to give that a negative meaning. You can supply a positive meaning to the fact that nothing has any meaning inherently. And that will start you moving in the quality direction that you prefer. And it will not be the feeling of being at a low point, but simply at a true point of power, of neutrality, of balance, truly at the zero point of rest, of ultimate acceptance and determination of what you wish to be in the next moment. But at every moment you will still understand that nothing has built-in meaning, that nothing means anything, but you don't have to give that a negative spin just because nothing means anything per se. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
What does your energy feel like right now?
Well, since I took the judgment off, I guess it is maybe the 0 point where I'm coming back to, and, and I'm judging it because it's not moving, it's not manifesting like
Yes, but again, remember, moving at infinite speed feels exactly like standing perfectly still.
Yeah, it's the same.
Okay. Because you're everywhere at once. So when you're everywhere at once, it's not feeling like you're going anywhere. Infinite speed doesn't necessarily translate to you in your physical reality that you're going anywhere. And so if you place upon it the judgment that you're really not going anywhere, as if that is the only way to, shall we say, measure progress, then you may have the opportunity to feel like nothing's happening and judge it in a negative way. But when you truly know it as the 0 point of ultimate opportunity to go any way you wish, because you don't have to go anywhere at all, then you truly learn how to use that still point as power, as true, raw recognition of self-acceptance, self-expression, self-reflection of the infinite, and true empowerment of the simple act of being. Does that make sense to you? Mm-hmm. Does that help you?
Yes.
Why, thank you.
One other thing I want to ask. Kim was channeling the other night, and she started doing the sign language stuff that was pretty intense, and obviously she doesn't know sign language consciously, but was there, she's never done it in any other session, but it was kind of like a private type of session, whatever. Is that like more of a reflection of a oversoul or a counterpart's self that we shared a life where we were, or was she deaf or was I deaf?
It had some personalizational aspects about why it happened in that particular moment, but at the same time, it is also beginning to be representative of the recognition that there is more information coming through than just what translates vocally, and it may have been necessary in that particular interaction for a lot of the information to come through in that way, so that your outer aware consciousness would get out of its way, in a sense, and allow the information to go more deeply into the different layers of your consciousness by not having any particular way of understanding what the translation was on a linear logical sense, and therefore not being able to block it. Make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Does that help you then?
It does help me. So was there, aside, was there a life of a deaf recently that's in relation to? Was she deaf?
I've been definitely getting, before this happened the last month or so, I keep having this like visualization of myself doing sign language, like I could just break out and do it at any time.
Okay.
And so when that happened, I thought, well, obviously I'm integrating some other life here.
This comes from a few different things. If you wish to draw an extrapolative connection, linearly speaking, to the idea of alternate lifetimes. Number one, you did know what you would call the typical sign language in your life as a nurse. Somewhere around, I believe, your idea of what you would call World War II-ish or one-ish, or somewhere in that, working with the idea of healing those who had been wounded in war. And you understood the concept of sign language to some degree and utilized it for a number of people in that sense and taught it to them in a number of occasions where they could no longer function in normal capacity of communication. At the same time, it is also a connection to the idea of more telepathic realities, wherein the idea of simple signs in early times, in Atlantean times, and in other civilizations, simple signs also spoke volumes of information without the utilization of what you would call linguistic communication. So you are connecting to many different things as a reflection of consolidation of information into more powerful symbology without stringing it out in the form of words. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Does that help you?
Yes.
Thank you. You, and then you. Number 2, do you know who you are? Number 2, do you know who you are? All right, number 1.
Hi, Bashar.
Good day.
I wanted to ask you, I'm really, really curious about these interactions.
Really, really curious?
Really, really, yeah.
Oh, all right.
I don't know whether...
What interactions?
Well, I sort of call them my parallel reality interactions because they're not...
Right.
You had told me once, many months ago when this happened, that they had been they were testing me, essentially, as to what I would do with this. Now, what happens, and they're generally always the same, is that I feel the paralysis field coming over me, and this act of unbelievable will comes through, and I stop it, and then I just I shift.
You shift the energy and utilize it as the unlocking mechanism so that you can experience the idea of parallel reality. Because again, remember, the paralysis is just an effect of having a particular dimensional frequency imposed upon you so that you can be guided to one particular frame of reference. But if you, in a sense, break free of it, you can manipulate that dimensional energy in any way, shape, or form you wish, and by moving within it, be capable of moving intentionally in any direction of any other dimensional reality in which you exist. Does that make sense to you? It's like being forced into a tunnel. That's the paralysis effect with a certain energy. Right. But then if you allow yourself the freedom to move within the tunnel, you begin to realize that there are other tunnels connected to that tunnel that you can determine your ability to move into, instead of simply being guided by their desire to move you along only one tunnel.
Okay.
Does that help you?
Right. Well, now the other one, the one that happened most recently was very curious because also...
Curious, yes. How so?
When I went to sleep, I had been asking for guidance from wherever it could possibly come for what I needed to do in terms of shifting my reality around my son.
Oh, all right.
And then this happened.
Yes.
And when it happened, and I fought the field, and that unlocking occurred.
Yes.
And as usually happens, I just sort of turn over in bed, and I'm in a different reality. So I turned over in bed, and I got up, and I went in Jonathan's room, and he was fine.
Yes.
He was just perfect. Yes. He was playing and talking to me, and I didn't think anything of it, and I went back to bed, and I woke up in this reality.
Yes.
So
you had an opportunity to understand that reality exists. Right here, right now, in a sense, overlapping the reality you typically call this one. Which, of course, from moment to moment is never the same one anyway.
Right.
But you just create that illusion of continuity. But this helps you unlock to understand that what you now call in your language that reality is simultaneously coexistent, and that it can be this reality just as easily as this reality is. So you are learning to practice to focus your intent to be the reality you prefer. And in that sense, of course, your child is helping you do that by giving you the challenge. You understand? By imposing the challenge upon you to look for the reality in which the child is fine. The child is calling you to your powers to unlock from any particular reality that is not representative of your preference and manifest the reality together that is. So you had a very clear glimpse that reality does exist. All you have to do is allow yourself to know it's just as real and allow your vibration to key into that reality and manifest that reality just as you manifest this one or 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 this one. Because you're doing it anyway. You're doing it anyway. What I just did, what we just did, was not just the idea of a symbolism. All the different inflections you just experienced were coming from different reality versions of we, us, me. You understand? Mm-hmm. Do you?
Sort of.
Sort of.
Now, when this occurs, and during the interaction, there is no conscious intent I set whatsoever. It's like there's this kind of, I fight off the field, there's this essentially like a 0 point thing or a null point, and then something just emerges.
Yes, but now you are learning to be more aware of the fact that you can navigate within that condition.
So it really is,
let me put it to you this way. You have now been thrown into an ocean, but you found that you wound up on the shore of a particular island that you prefer. Now you know the island exists, so now it's on your map.
Right.
So now you can navigate your way back.
Right.
You understand?
And I can navigate my way back in this reality.
Yes.
Yes.
And thus, truly, in your sense, integrate it on this level and make it your own. You know it's there. You've been there now, but you were there on another level. The idea now is to understand that what you want to do is make it your own on this level. So you know the vibration, you've been there, you're familiar with it, you know it's real. Make it more real for yourself in your energy, and you will be there in this reality. Make sense?
It does. Now,
okay.
Can I just ask you this? Is there a gray contribution to this? Is that a...
Yes.
A test, essentially, or an opportunity?
One level, yes.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank
Then
you.
pleasant dreams.
Thank you.
Number 2. All right, I will hold on.
Okay. I recently went home to Texas to visit my family.
Yes.
And I was reminded of an incident that I wanted to ask you about that had happened some time ago.
And that was?
I was in my parents' house. I wasn't living there. And I was in the bed my old bed, and I was drifting off to sleep. And my mother was in the hallway. And I started sort of falling asleep, but still kind of aware of what was going on. And I started feeling this body materialize next to me in the bed. And it was frightening, and it was very sexual. And I was like fighting that happening. I was like trying to wake up completely so it would go away. And I could even speak to my mother, and I was sort of telling her what was happening, and she said, "Oh, you're just dreaming." But it felt like a very real presence. And so now that that was a long time ago, and now that I've come to learn what I've learned and knowing you and all and stuff, I thought maybe you could give me some information about who that was or what occurred.
You first.
Who I think it was?
You first.
Okay, well, my thoughts after, when I popped in my head, and I thought, wow, that must have been another parallel life, or like reality.
Very close.
Dimensional sort of thing.
Very close. Can you get closer?
Well, I felt like it was an extraterrestrial.
Not exactly, although that is involved. But even though it is involved, even though there is participation from many different beings on many different levels, there is one particular level of this, one particular representation of this that is most, shall we say, significant with regard to what you need to understand about its meaning for you.
Well, it's an aspect of me, right?
Yes. What aspect?
The part that I've been afraid to look at.
Yes.
And that's why the sexual aspect.
Yes.
When I was a little kid.
Are you asking now for the idea of circumstance that brought about your forcing yourself to look at this?
Yeah.
To some degree that is connected, yes. But the point is that in a sense you visited yourself from the future as a child. Do you understand?
I visited myself.
From the future.
From what future?
What you now call your present. Going back there, you created the visitation that you experienced as a child. You understand?
So okay, so the feeling...
All right. You want to look at this linearly. You were a child.
Right.
In what you call your past.
Yeah.
You had this experience of this being manifesting near your bed.
Right.
It scared you.
Right.
That being is a projection of you from now, from having gone back there now, and projecting back in time to yourself as a child.
We do that a lot?
Yes. To create a cycle, a loop, to bring yourself forward in a certain energy, to show yourself certain things, give yourself certain challenges, and at the same time help yourself, in a sense, from the future to integrate and incorporate the idea into a new understanding of your present. in a similar fashion to the way that we are, as you know, the channel's future self. And so you could say that the channel's future self is now communicating back to the past self and creating a third identity that is different than both of us, so to speak. All of you do this for yourselves as well. You don't always necessarily know you're doing it, but you just gave yourself an opportunity to glimpse and a memory of the fact that you did and do. This trip that you call now your recent trip is the trip wherein you projected yourself back to the past and thus remembered having the experience. Because now you could complete the cycle. Because now you're on the other end of the visitation of yourself. And so could remember the incident, the event, and the reasons for why you exposed yourself to that energy to allow yourself to walk that particular path to become who you now are, so that you can now integrate this idea of before and after and then move on into something different and more expansive.
Right, because there's so many things that I feel now, I was trying to decide if I should talk to you about that happened during this visit and happened recently.
Yes.
They tie into all that.
Yes, we would imagine that while you at the same time had that memory of visiting yourself as a child, you also had an experience that we would label as a visit from a more future self to your present self now. In other words, you mirrored the idea of what you were doing to yourself as a child with a concurrent visit from a future self to your present self.
Future self meaning not another being.
It can be a future Nan.
In the body.
Yes.
Okay.
It could also be beyond that. But what we are simply saying is that at the same time you began to integrate your memory of having done it in terms of visiting your past self from your present self, you simultaneously gave yourself the experience of a visitation from a future self to your present self.
Okay. Now I'd like to discuss...
Do you remember what that was? What experience did you have on this trip that would be perhaps representative of receiving a visit from your future self?
Well, I'll tell you this right now, and that's what I was just going
to
comment on. My mother was repelling me. I could not stand being around her.
All right.
And I felt that, I felt guilty for feeling that way, but I also felt okay about being honest, just going, I don't like her. I don't like
You recognize that her vibration is not necessarily aligned with your preferential reality.
It seems to be going so much askew.
Yes, you do not have to judge the being to recognize that simply as an observational fact.
Yeah. So that was occurring during this visit.
And therefore, that vibration
is not what I prefer.
Yes.
And I felt...
And the experience, to some degree, was spurred on by your future self, which is more completely not that vibration.
Right.
And thus imparted to you the level of, quote-unquote, discomfort you felt by showing you how different you actually are in your full future self from the vibration of that reality you were standing in at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there are other things that were representative of contact with your future self, or from your future.
Like what?
You tell me. What other incidents happened to you? What other revelations and understandings opened up for you?
Well, not in reference to the visit, but it just happened recently where I was invited to a party where that individual that I had the intimate relationship with this year will be there probably. And it put this pit in my stomach, and I hadn't seen this person in 4 months, and I was afraid.
All right, and what did you do?
Well, I thought, my goodness, this is a big extreme reaction. I thought, why does this individual represent such a great fear for me? And I felt that he is sort of like every time I ever felt rejected, every time I ever felt unloved, he is epitomizing that to give me an opportunity to realize that that's not what I prefer, that I don't look outside myself for love. It's right here.
Thank you. And did you use it that way then?
I'm working on it,
You're working on it.
I didn't get it and go, okay, I'm over that one. I'm unplugging and I'm looking at it.
No, all right. Take whatever amount of time you deem is necessary until you allow yourself the obvious.
Well, I wonder why I choose to take so long, because I was surprised that I still was plugged into that.
All right. Why do you choose to take the amount of time that you do? What do you get out of doing so?
Exactly.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing, but I'm simply asking you the question nevertheless.
I thought that because I asked myself that.
Well,
What's
what
the
did
motivation?
you answer? Why do you take the amount of time you do? Pro and con. Why?
Well, let's see. The pro, I guess, would be because, or what I think would be the pro, would be is what I'm familiar with. What, doing what I would think would be...
Why is that a pro?
Because we find comfort in that, even though it might not be what we prefer. It's what
so
we know.
So it's a state that allows you to feel you can continue to move ahead.
Possibly, yes.
All right. Anything con about it?
Yeah.
What?
It's painful.
It's painful, and why is that a con?
Because I don't prefer to feel painful.
Oh, I see. But are you using your pain in a positive way?
I think so, yeah. I believe I'm transforming myself because...
Then are you saying that the pace you are traveling is the perfect balance between your idea of pro and con in this circumstance? The dynamic tension that determines exactly the amount of time the process you are creating will take based on how you have defined the balance between the polarities in this issue.
I feel it's coming to a point right now.
This
month feels like an exciting time in that way.
Oh, all right.
And I felt almost like I reverted when I went back to my parents' house.
To some degree you did, so that you could identify and understand in a way that would allow you to bring it into your present in an integrational manner. But that's all right. That was part of the mechanism you deemed was necessary to understand it and integrate it.
Well, yeah, and to also see the extremes, like this is what I prefer, this is what I don't prefer.
Yes.
And so coming back from being in that state where I was sort of low and then being offered this opportunity to look at this, I wasn't at the high point I was before I went. And so,
but again, it served a purpose, which is what we said earlier about sometimes the vibration needs to be lowered in order to actually serve the purpose of the higher vibration.
Right, right.
That's what we were referring to, exactly as a perfect example.
Mm-hmm. I definitely feel like this is an opportunity to learn a lot and grow.
Of course.
And to go to this event.
How would the future you treat it as anything but?
Right. Exactly. Instead of being, oh no, I'm so sad.
Correct. Correct.
Exactly.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. 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 Correct.
Okay. Thanks for that.
Thank you. One moment. Is that all?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You and you. Number 2, do you know who you are? All right. Number 1.
Greetings.
And to you, good day.
I have a couple things I'd like to talk about tonight.
Yes.
The first one is in regard to this health situation that I've been going through. It seems to be a series of learning steps.
Yes, exactly so.
The most recent one is when I had a friend who's a psychic and a healer working on me. He said that what I'm getting is you've had so many past lives, or I'm tapping into present lives, where I've tied into the Christian dogma of suffering.
Right. Some of that is so.
Now, I even brought that into this life, and even though that's not a part of my consciousness, I said I think that's really true. I really
obviously it is a part of your
a lot of validity.
Yes.
So then, after thinking of this, I said, well, this is not my reality now. I reject this. I reject this. And when I shared this with someone else...
Reject it?
Well, I reject the idea that...
You reject it?
That's the question I was going to ask.
Instead of accepting. It is the rejection of this idea that causes the difficulty. It is the acceptance of this idea as a total portion of yourself, or a portion of your total self, that will allow it to be integrated.
Well, I do accept that, but I want to...
Then you don't need to reject it in order to not experience it. If you totally accept it, unconditionally, lovingly, the effect will fade. If that's what you mean by, quote-unquote, rejection, all well and good. But sometimes the utilization of the term rejection will imply the erection of a barrier that will actually bring about more of the symptomologies of that which you do not prefer.
Well, that's what I was wanting clarification for, because someone else said you need to be one with it.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to be one with that idea, because that idea is not of my conscious reality.
Being one with it in this sense means accepting it as a portion of your total self completely. Accepting it in the way that it served you. Accepting it in the sense that if it is now manifesting in any way, shape, or form, bringing your attention to it, then there is somehow a reason for this. And by using it with that attitude and understanding, you will accept it and use it in the manner that will allow it to transform into something else.
Okay, I can accept that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That gives me the clarification that I wanted.
Thank you. And the other thing?
The other thing, totally different. Crystals in Atlantis.
Crystals in Atlantis, yes.
Oh, and Atlantis.
And Atlantis.
A couple of weeks ago, someone asked about the validity of Edgar Casey's Atlantis, and you said there was a high degree of accuracy to that.
Yes.
So I was led to get that book and start reading it. And it talks in there about those who created the material out of the spiritual.
Right.
I found myself very attracted to that. I have been attracted to
That's because you were there.
Well, I guess I can sort of assume that, because I...
Right. We're not saying it for any other reason. It's not a big announcement. We are simply making what you would call a confirmation.
Okay, good. So in this life, as of recently, the past year, I have created my own version of this, of my own what I call an energetic manifestation process.
All right. How have you translated into present terminology?
Well, it's a combination of making very positive affirmations in the now, putting a lot of emotion into them, being thankful that they exist now, and at the same time holding a crystal to amplify that energy.
All right. Thus, in a sense, crystallizing your intention.
Yes.
All right.
Now, this has seemed to work for me.
Yes.
But my question is, does it work just because I believe it, or since this is a mechanical process, I want to know if it would work beyond me so that I could teach this to others.
In some senses, yes. Because the idea is that it not only works because you believe it as a personality construct, but you also deeply understand it and believe it on a fundamental collective consciousness level as one of the recognitions of the agreed upon representations of physiological reality being recognized as vibration. So it's a very fundamental, foundational belief that keys directly into the idea of how you've all agreed physical reality shall manifest. And thus, in that sense, it can be taught to others, yes.
Okay.
Does that help you?
Yes, it does. Now, when I first started this, I was led to use a small crystal ball, but then recently, especially after reading this, the information I got would be better to use a crystal in the shape of a pyramid.
Go with your instincts at any given moment. Whatever you feel helps reflect greater crystallization of your intention is what will work for you at that moment. There are various ways to approach this. Go with your instincts on this. You know what you're doing.
Okay. One more thing, somewhat related to this. I'd also talked to you previously about the...
You are very familiar, if I may interrupt you, with the idea of the octahedral formation of fluorite, you know. Especially in what you would call its blue-violet cast. This is something you have worked with before, and if you wish to do something that's a little bit more pyramidal, you perhaps will find great effectiveness with this.
The octahedral formation of what?
Octahedral fluorite. In other words, a double four-sided pyramid. Point up, point down, bluish-violet in color.
Okay.
Octahedron.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Now, so I asked about the Akashic Records, and you'd said it was crystals, and then I said I had this visualization of a multifaceted crystal. And you said, well, you're right there.
It is represented in your physical reality domain by the idea of access through crystalline organization of information. Yes.
Okay, well, very recently, I had a vision of similar thing. It was a multifaceted crystal.
Yes.
It was, this time it was larger. This time in our reality it would be about 7 or 8 inches in diameter. It was on the carpet, and it was rolling toward me at an angle, and then it turned and started rolling directly toward me.
Yes.
So I've looked at this, or I've given a couple interpretations to this, is that I'm coming closer to the door of the Akashic Records.
Yes.
So creating my reality is coming toward me.
Yes.
A greater awareness is coming toward me.
Yes, you are going deeper and deeper and deeper into yourself. Yes.
Okay.
Into your doorway, your gateway, your connection to the idea of access to all that crystallinear informational pattern matrix.
Mm-hmm. And since it was on a carpet, That means it's coming to me smoothly?
In a sense, yes.
Okay.
Buffered to some degree,
okay.
yes.
That's what I've come up with.
It is also coming to you foundationally, on a fundamental level, what you call the floor.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Number 2.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I'm new to your teaching, so
we are new to you then.
And
it is not so much a teaching as it is a reflection and a remembrance that all of you are teaching us as well.
Thank you.
But do proceed.
Today, my essence and focus was about making my third-dimensional box bigger.
Oh, all right.
I would like to have some information from you about how to achieve that.
First, define the idea that you call your third-dimensional box becoming bigger.
Well, you were stating that we are bigger than we can imagine bigger, and that's what I would like to experience.
Here, then, is the paradox. You will always find the greatest amount of power in paradox. You follow?
Yes.
Because that which seems to be polar opposites obviously both stem from a central point, and that central point contains all the power that manifested the apparent opposites. So when you discover paradox, that's when you know you're standing squarely at the center of your present power. The idea, therefore, of expanding what you euphemistically call your third-dimensional box is the understanding that you don't live in a box, that you don't live in third-dimensional reality, that third-dimensional reality is contained within you. Do you understand that concept?
I understand it, and I'm not experiencing it. I would like to...
Then I ask you the fundamental question, the burning question of the ages. Are you ready?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
All right. Are you doing in your life the things that would excite you the most or not? And hesitation usually means no.
Right.
Thank you. Then the next question is, of course, why not? Why are you not acting on your highest excitement every moment? Why are you not acting on the opportunities that represent your highest dreams, your highest visions, your highest joy? What are all the reasons you have been taught to believe are real for why you are unwilling to move and act in the direction of what you know in your heart is your highest joy, but somehow cannot bring yourself to take action upon? What are the reasons for why you are not living your highest joy at every moment?
You want me to go into them?
Yes, I do. And first of all, before you do, at this particular moment, do you have a particular thing that you have designed right now for this moment to be representative of something that would be far more exciting than what you're doing in your life right now?
Yes.
And what would that thing be?
Yes. My heart's desire is to travel around the world with my twin flame.
First, be your own twin flame. Do not put conditions on what you yourself are capable of doing on your own.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
Again, there's the paradox. The more you act like more of yourself, the more capable you are of attracting an individual or individuals to reflect your wholeness to you, instead of assuming you need the other individual to be complete.
Preference.
Don't be tricky. It may truly be, but in most individuals on your planet we find that it is not a preference so much as it is an anxiety. That they think that has to happen that way. They make it such a strong condition that they will not believe that they are in and of themselves whole without it. You follow?
I follow, but...
And if it is truly the preference, then there's nothing you have to focus on. Because what it is truly, that it is a preference in your life, will automatically occur at the exact right moment. You follow?
Yes.
However, remember this principle, mechanically speaking. You cannot experience a reality you are not the state of first. You follow?
Yes.
What is it about traveling that excites you so much?
I love diversity.
Do you now?
I love to taste and smell and experience.
I see. Then, are you traveling now?
Yes.
As much as you would like to?
I would do it constantly.
Then why don't you?
attached to money. And
yes, I know. That's one of those reasons we talked about.
Right.
Why are you fixated on the idea that that is what is always required? Why do you allow that definition to stop you from being yourself and exploring or allowing the opportunities that could come to you wherein money may not be required?
I've had this discussion with myself many times.
I see. And what did you tell yourself in this discussion?
Well, I've traveled, and I've traveled without any money, and
yes.
and it was.
Then why can't you do that as often as you wish?
I can do that. It was.
Then why don't you?
Preference.
Oh, come now.
Really? Really?
Then if it really is your preference, then in that sense there's really nothing to discuss, is there? For if you really find that it is your preference to travel at some times and then not travel at other times, and that really is your preference, meaning the thing you prefer the most, the thing that excites you the most to choose at that moment, then you're doing what you love to do every moment. And there is, in that sense, no need for a discussion, is there?
Thank you.
Do you understand this?
I do understand. It's the paradox that I have been turning over and over in my hands lately.
Do you feel that something is lacking?
There is great joy in my life, and I'm coming to a place where I believe to be in service was my highest service, and I realize that for me to experience my joy as myself is my highest service.
Yes, because if you cannot be yourself, how can you help anyone else?
Yes.
It doesn't mean that you will not find that there will be times when you will express your joy of being yourself in something that many individuals would actually observe to be a service modality. But that will not really come about as true service if you are not being yourself first. You understand that?
Yes, thank you.
Does this help you in any way, shape, or form?
Yes, it does. I have another question. I was in Sedona recently, and it was a marvelous, mystical journey.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
And
I am grateful to myself for giving me this experience.
All right.
I was at one of the rock formations, and I declared that I was a pillar of light.
Okay.
And in that moment, light came out of the mountain and entered into my heart.
Okay.
And in that moment, I said, I choose love instead of fear.
All right.
And I was wondering if you could comment on where that light came from.
You. That are not just say that everything that is reflected back to you in reality, physical reality is a perfect mirror. Do you understand?
Yes.
You are seeing yourself over and over and over again in all the ways you can see yourself when you understand that there is nothing out there. It is only a reflection of the infinite that you are, of the portion of the infinite that you are. And as you declare yourself to be what you understand your portion of the infinite to be, that is the reflection you get from the mirror. Plain and simple. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
So in that sense, it came from the infinite, and it came from you. And it isn't either or. It is this and that. It is both, it is all, it is one. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does that help you? Yes, no, maybe. What are you looking for?
Augmen. Does that mean anything? Augmen.
Only in the sense of the concept of what you now are exploring as the opportunity for enhancing and refining more precisely what it is at any given moment that represents your truth, and doing only that and not doing what is not your true self. It is a lure, in a sense, a guidance into more of yourself by understanding how important it is to not do even the most infinitesimal thing that is not the vibration of your truth. Because by doing so, you stop the process of being your true self. Completely and utterly and totally. No matter how much bigger that portion of yourself may seem to be, the smallest speck of that which does not belong in your frequency will stop the whole process until you integrate it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does that help you?
Yes, thank you.
Then, go fourth, go fifth, go sixth and seventh and eighth if you wish. but go where you know you are. Does that help you?
Very much.
Then
Thank
pleasant
you.
dreams to you.
Thanks.
At this timing, we once again extend to each and every one of you our deep appreciation in allowing our civilization to interact with your civilization in this way at this timing. Once again, our unconditional love to each and every one of you. We thank you for the co-creation of a new reality that is neither of us and both of us. Good day. How did it go? Thank you very much, everyone, for being here tonight. We'll see you again. Have a good night.